In a dimly lit bar, the air thick with the smell of spilled beer and bravado, a group of young Marines were holding court. Their laughter was loud, their stories larger than life, each one trying to outdo the last. They were the kings of this little world, fresh from boot camp, their uniforms crisp and their confidence soaring. Then, a woman walked in alone. She had a quiet strength about her, an unassuming presence that didn't immediately command attention. She took a seat at the far end of the bar, ordered a drink, and kept to herself. The Marines noticed her. To them, she looked out of place, a civilian in their warrior's den. One of them, prodded by his buddies, sauntered over. "Hey there," he began, his voice laced with a condescending charm. "A little lost, are we? This is kind of a military crowd." The woman simply smiled, a polite but distant expression. She didn't reply, which only seemed to egg him on. His friends snickered from their table. "Don't worry," he continued, leaning against the bar. "We'll protect you from all the scary stories." Sho took a slow sip of her drink, her gaze steady. "I think I can handle myself," she said, her voice calm and even. This response only fueled their amusement. They saw her as a challenge, a civilian to be impressed or intimidated. They started swapping tales of grueling training, of mud and sweat, of shouting drill instructors. They spoke of the brotherhood, the unbreakable bond forged in shared hardship, implying it was a world she couldn't possibly understand. Through it all, she listened patiently, never interrupting, her quiet demeanor a stark contrast to their boisterous energy. The bartender, a grizzled older man who had seen generations of soldiers pass through his establishment, watched the scene unfold with a knowing eye. He refilled her glass and gave her a slight nod of encouragement. The taunts became more direct. "What do you do, anyway?" "Teach kindergarten. File papers in some stuffy office." One Marine called out, "I bet the toughest thing you fight is the morning traffic." The group erupted in laughter. Finally, the woman finished her drink. She placed the empty glass on the counter with a soft click and turned to face the group. The bar seemed to fall silent for a moment, waiting. "You boys have some good stories," she said, her voice carrying a newfound authority that cut through the noise. "Reminds me of my early days." The Marines exchanged confused glances. One of them smirked. "Oh yeah, and where were your early days?" She looked him straight in the eye. "Paris Island, just like you. Then Quantico, then a few places you probably haven't heard of yet." The air shifted. The laughter died in their throats. They were still processing her words when the bartender, wiping down the counter, chimed in. "Hey, you boys better show some respect," he said, his voice a low rumble. "You know who that is?" He gestured with his chin towards the woman. "That's Valkyrie." The name hung in the air. Valkyrie. It wasn't just a nickname, it was a call sign. And in their world, call signs like that weren't handed out lightly. They were earned. Earned in fire, in chaos, in moments of extreme courage. The cocky grins on the young Marines' faces vanished, replaced by wide-eyed disbelief. Their bravado evaporated, leaving behind a stark and sudden respect. Valkyrie was a legend, a name whispered in awe by pilots and infantry alike, a decorated officer, a pioneer, a warrior who had seen more action than all of them combined. The Marine who had started it all stood frozen, his mouth slightly agape. He looked from the woman to the bartender, and back again. The person they had been mocking, the woman they had dismissed as a fragile civilian, was a giant in their world. She was the kind of Marine they all aspired to be. She gave them a small, knowing smile, one that wasn't condescending but held a world of experience. "Stay safe out there," she said, her voice now warm. She dropped a few bills on the counter, gave the bartender a final nod, and walked out of the bar, leaving behind a group of humbled young men who had just learned one of the most important lessons of their careers. True strength doesn't taunt itself. It just is. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories.